Welcome back to Loan Officer Success Live, and this is the Coach's Corner powered by Premier Lending. Your host, mortgage leader and business builder, Devin Dubuque, and the coach with the winning playbook, Rick Koenig. Together, they're bringing you real strategies, no fluff insights, and the exact steps to grow your mortgage business. Buckle up because this is Loan Officer Success Live. All right, man, we're back, Coach.
Welcome back. We went to Florida to get cold.
I know, isn't that crazy? Isn't that crazy? For those of you guys that don't know, we just got back from MortgageCon in not so sunny Orlando, Florida.
Wasn't just us, man. It was everybody in the South. I mean, the experiences people had traveling to the event. You know, we had people hung up in airports for 6 and 8 hours, sitting on planes for 6 hours.
Planes, trains, and automobiles.
Yeah, I mean, it was. But you know what? Once they got there, anytime you invest in yourself and you go to some place where there's excellent speakers, people that can teach you stuff, you're spending your money well, as long as you utilize it when you get back.
That's it.
And what MortgageCon has developed into in just 3 years is absolutely one of the 2 or 3 premier events in the entire mortgage industry. And we were blessed to have some of the best speakers. And I know we both had different takeaways. You remember way more than I always do. Plus, you record it and watch it back, and I want to see some of those recordings.
Yeah,
but
I'm dropping them into our shared drive so we can go back and revisit those and share those with the team. But let's talk about some of the names that were on stage at this big. The headliners were Charlie Rocket, which has nothing to do with mortgage, but everything to do with believing in yourself and bringing about whatever it is that you want to accomplish, just through motivation and discipline and just taking the time to do it. Right. I think my favorite quote from him, Coach, and I'm going to do it here right now. Right. Is he's like, I never lose. And he's like, I never lose because he's like, if I get 2 losses, it turns to a win, because when you put your hand in an L shape and you get 2 L's, it creates a W. Right. And I thought, man, what a great way to think. What a great mindset, and why he's accomplished what he's accomplished comes right there. But I'm going to run through just the headliners first, and then we can kind of dive into what we learned. Neil Dingra from Ford Mastermind. I mean, absolutely outstanding. Renee Rodriguez. I mean, come on, guys. I mean, these are some of the legends that are out there. And then, the rest of the lineup, we had Anthony Frederick, Ashley Bedford. I mean, this is a producer that knocked out over 292 transactions last year. Chelsea Gardner, social media. Chris Vinson with Windsor was there. Chris Welton, Dan Smokaska, LinkedIn guy, teaches you how to win on LinkedIn. Dustin Owen from T-Lop was there. Eddie Perez, Jason Frazier, right?
Yeah.
Harish from Arrive. I'm not going to try to pronounce his last name. But, the owner, right? The CEO, right? Howard Lerman from Rome. We love Rome. One of the best pieces of tech I think that there is on the market in any business, in any country, right? Jamie Miller, who's going to teach you the art. He's both of our coaches, right? Art of communication. Jonathan Haddad, Kenny Phillips, Coach Kyle Draper. I mean, come on, man. When he sat up there and preached, he was preaching. He genuinely was preaching. It's his background. And it was just, everybody in the room was so uplifted. Luke Shankula, AI tech guy, Michelle Berman, Milo Draven, Phil Manusco, Rebecca Richardson, the mortgage mentor, Rob Piccolo, Sean Kaplan. Come on, man. One of the best producers in the country right now, Sean Kaplan. That guy did it. I think he's averaging somewhere around $10.5 million a month, and told the secrets on how he got there. Tony Cottenberg, Travis Newton, and James, I think it's Smith, the mortgage dad, James Swift, the mortgage dads, and then Trevor York. I mean, what a phenomenal lineup of people to be able to sit forth and learn.
The theme that went through almost every one of these successful people was the theme of giving back, and living a life of abundance. And, what's really cool is I work with 2 guys that are great mentors and great coaches, and 2 of the best at giving away. You and Scotty Hudspeth, you do the morning show, you do multiple broadcasts like this and podcasts with people, and you're teaching them how, and it's from abundance. I mean, the stuff that you guys do on the show and the stuff that you help people with on the side that aren't even employees of our company is just, just really cool. And it pays off in the long run.
It does pay off in the long run, and that's a big part of what Neil Dingra talks about. Right. And we'll go back to that. Neil, he got started 7 years ago, and he was doing a lot of stuff with social media. Before that, he was not. And, one of the things he said that I love is he's like, you got to give him candy. You got to give him candy. He's like, we'll get to the vegetables later, but you got to give him the candy. And what he means by that is you want to give things out for free. And so many people were stuck in the mindset of, I've got to have it right now, right? I need this sale today. I've got to win today. It's got to happen right now. And why is that? It's because a lot of us are chasing paychecks, right? We've got to have it now because we got to pay the mortgage. And quite frankly, maybe we didn't even need it now. Maybe we needed it yesterday. And more importantly, maybe it wasn't yesterday. Maybe it was last week, or maybe it was 6 months ago we needed it and we're still chasing it. And, ultimately what he said is that you got to transition yourself to the mindset of, not just I need it right now, but ultimately I want to talk to the people that are going to do business with me later down the road. Because if I start talking to the future people, the ones that are going to want to move to me and the ones that are going to want to work with me, right, then effectively I don't have to chase anymore because I'm attracting the people to me. And, what he means by that is giving things for free, coming from a place of abundance, sharing secrets and tips and free reports, and not asking for a penny from that, right? And effectively, what you're doing at that point in time is that you're building trust in people. And one of the major things that I caught from Neil, and I'll let you give your take on him, was he said, we're in a trust recession right now. There's a lot of people out there that just don't trust, and they have good damn reason to not trust those.
Yeah. It couldn't be the media or anything like that. Everybody in the whole world's got you not trusting anybody. So you're right.
We got to give them a reason to believe in who we are, right? And how do we do that? We give away something for free. We come from a place of abundance. We let them know that we're not here to trick them into anything. We're here to give them something, right? And if they love us and they love what we're doing, then those are the people that are going to come back to us over time and go, you know what? I trust this guy. I trust him like no other because he shared with me secrets on how to make things happen that nobody's ever shared with me before. And to me, that's where the magic really starts to happen.
Right. It's not only that living from the life of abundance, but so many of these people who are successful could have let life's events take them to the bottom. And to hear some of the most successful people we've ever met, and some of them I never heard that portion of their stories. You think about, Chris Welton, born with, basically one arm and one stub arm. And the guy goes out and creates a marketing genius ploy. He wrote the book One Jordan, where he gave away one Jordan gym shoe in your size. And then to get the other one, you had to make an appointment with him. and yet to hear him this year, do his talk, it was just amazing.
Well, here's a guy with one arm that ran the High Rocks and won the race. Like, come on. Like, if you guys have seen High Rocks, I have. I didn't participate. I watched my mother-in-law and my sister-in-law just this year at the same event that he was at. He said 17,000 people. It was unbelievable. And here's this guy with one arm running the High Rocks. And at one point in time, collapses face first because he's got a bag on his shoulder and can't get up like you and I can because he's got a bag on his shoulder and one arm, and gets back up and completes the thing and wins the entire High Rocks for his division.
That was amazing. Right? Sean Kaplan, one of the most successful originators in the United States. And gosh, we were so blessed that these people spent time with us afterwards. My wife and I ran into Sean walking out and spent some time with him walking back to the hotel. And then we run into each other in the airport. And get to meet his wife and his kids and just to tell my wife about his story. And then here he turns it around and now he gives back. I
think it's more than that though, Coach. I think it's more than that, right? It's meeting those people, walking into the car, but more importantly, or the airport. At the end of each, somebody said this earlier today, and I think it was something that was super magical, is that the speakers would go up on stage and speak, but then come back down and sit in the audience and take notes and learn from the next speaker.
I've not seen that at a lot of
where do you see that? No, the speaker comes, they speak, and then they disappear stage right, and you never see them again, right? And here, not only is the speaker a speaker, but they're a participant, and then they're also open to sharing, because even if you wouldn't have caught him outside, had you walked up and sat next to him at the table or asked to pull him across into the back of the room, which we saw so many people do, sharing with abundance, literally sharing with abundance. Of course, I'll take some time to tell you what I did, And, you talk about Sean, Sean learned from a lot of what he does through Neil, right? So Neil's one of our big mega speakers that we brought on. Sean is a prodigy who effectively took the teachings of Neil, right? That sounds biblical, but took his teachings from Neil, and he turned around and utilized that to create his market. And what's really interesting about that is that he was at a burnout stage in his life where he was really getting tired of the industry, and following Neil and following Neil's advice and transitioning the way that he actually was approaching getting the business and stopping chasing and starting the attracting, changed his mindset in the business. And now he's producing more than he's ever produced before. Looks amazing. The guy, seriously, you can tell he's in probably the best shape he's ever been in his life. And this is a guy that's come from some major hardships and some major adversity. And he's been kicked and clawed at over his life. And now he's at the top of his game and loving every second of it, as he should be. And that was one of the things that they talked about, is that sometimes people get afraid to show the spoils of their success, right? We don't want to share that we have cars, we have houses, or things like that. And he said, I don't mind sharing those things, because I'm sharing what it's taken me to get there. And I'm sharing that socially so that people can look me up and they can go, man, you know what? He deserves that. He deserves that because look what he did to get it. He didn't just get it handed to him. It wasn't like he woke up one morning and had a Porsche in the driveway, right? Hey, Dad, here's the keys, enjoy it, right? No, he did what it took to get to that level. And I think that's what's magical about it, man, and then shared it with us. This is all I did. This is it, right? Yeah. This is all I did. This is it. Right. And what was the common denominator? That most of these people that stood up and talked about, what did they do, Coach?
They build a foundation. They do what they need to do every day, and they stick to a plan. They have a definite plan. And a lot of these people, most people, when they look at people that have been very successful, I know even like in, locally, even within my own family, they always look at me like I'm the golden child. It's like, you have no idea how hard I worked. Where were you at
Coach? You don't even have to, and you do.
Yeah. Where were you at 5 o'clock in the morning when I was, doing something for myself so that at 7 I could be sitting at somebody's kitchen table taking their loan app back in the 90s? Where were you at? When I had to rush home, go to football practice with my son, and then have somebody else take him home because I still had 2 more appointments to go to that night. Yeah. And then stay up till 1 o'clock in the morning getting the daggone thing finished. They just don't see, what you did. And actually, if you don't let them know, they just think you were lucky.
So there's a point there, though, right? They didn't see it because when you were doing it, and this wasn't a thing, so it makes sense, you weren't sharing it socially, right? Yeah. And what these guys are talking about is they're following a structured plan, and they're following it consistently and confidently, so that anybody that they work with knows what they're going to get. They know what that's going to look like. But more important, they're sharing it socially so that people can see what they're doing, right? They're out there sharing it socially. So they're teaching people lessons. Here's how you can do this. Here's how you can benefit this. Here's a way that you can actually cheat the system, right? And then here's me working, doing these things. Here's me with my family, but here's me actually behind the scenes doing what it takes to make that stuff happen. And, you talk about the fact that some of your friends or family didn't see that. Well, they're making sure that not only are their friends and family seeing it, but other people are seeing it. When people see the amount of work and effort that goes in, what you're actually doing every single day, they start to buy in. That's where trust gets built, right? And then you stop chasing, because the people come to you because they know what to expect. They know you're a brand. They understand you are the brand. You become the brand. And that was a big part of what they talked about. And I love this story about working with Chris Do. If you guys don't know who Chris Do is, go look him up. You probably, if you're watching me, you probably know who Chris is, because he's a freaking superhero. But anyways, he was talking to Chris about branding, and he's like, man, I just don't know what to do. What should my brand be? And he's like, well, your brand needs to be you. And he said, around this time, a couple of his buddies were walking out the door to go to lunch. They're like, hey, Cap, we're gonna go to lunch. You want to catch up with the food when you're done? He's like, yeah, I'll be right there, right? And Chris looks at him and he's like, what was that? He's like, well, they want to go to lunch. He's like, no. What'd they call you? The Cap. Everybody's called me Cap. They call me Cat since I was kids. That's your brand. That's who you are. You're not the loan guru. You're not I don't know. Everybody tries to make up these fancy names, right? The Advantage team, right? Whatever it is, right? No, that's not who you are. You are you, right? And I can't use Big D because it's taken. But that's what people called me as a kid growing up, right? That was what it was. But I am Devin Dubuque. That's who I am, right? That's a brand. That's what you want to do when you're going out there building your social presence. Build it off of the brand. The brand is you. The brand is you. People buy into you. And I remember I was at that same event, the Ford Mastermind last year, not this event, but the previous one, where I saw Neil speak for the first time. And, effectively, what Neil was saying is, and I lost my train of thought, Coach. It was, the brand being you. I'm going to let you take it over. I don't know. I just lost it. I lost myself.
Oh, I know that happened to me twice today. It happened in an interview.
Well, I got so much information because we had so much going on,
Yeah. And you retain it and you give it back to our team way better than I always do. I have to go back and see something a second or even a third time before it just really gets in this old head of mine. But what I think where you were kind of going with that is these guys that are doing it, they're putting it out there. They're being themselves. It's not fake, Big D or Coach or whatever, the nicknames that we earned over the years, we earned because that's who we are. And if you're trying to make your brand into something that you're not, or you want it to be, that can end up backfiring on you because then you're not really taken as being serious. And so, some of these goofy names that people do come up with, people just look at it and it's like, I don't know,
Well, it doesn't mean anything. I think that's the bigger part is it doesn't mean anything, right? Like it's just a word on a piece of paper, right?
Titles today. I mean, think about that. We've got loan officers at one company. Every loan officer is a vice president of of mortgage lending. And it's like, really? What decision are you allowed to make for the company today? Who's putting the coffee on? I mean, come on,
I took the role of growth leader, right? I took the role of growth leader, and I took that role because I want to help people grow. That's it. That's all I care about. It's not about my growth. It's about somebody else's growth. How do I help somebody else grow? And, I think at some point in time, they called me the national director of sales. It's like, no, I'm a growth leader. I want to help people grow. That's what it's all about. Right. And ultimately what happens when you start carrying these titles? It's like, oh, I'm so-and-so. I'm a human being that's here to help others get where they want to be and create successes for themselves, because my success will come with their success. And that's what we have to start thinking, and we go back to talk about trust recessions. No wonder there's a trust recession, oh, you work for me. No, I work for you. I work for you. I don't care if technically you are somebody that's working underneath my division. It doesn't matter. I work for you. If I'm not providing you value, you need to leave. You need to leave, because if the person that's supposed to be there to support you doesn't support you, what kind of a leader are they? Right. And I have a problem with that. So let's go back and talk about Rene Rodriguez, because he said some amazing things. And, the one that really stuck with me, and there's several, right? But the one that really stuck with me was defining who you are and, basically how that takes you back to your childhood. Right. And then the other one was the perception reality. So which one do you want to cover first? Defining who you are.
Defining who you are, because, we've talked about this. We've even done this exercise with our team at this company, where you have to find your origin story, that's the term. And when you figure out your why, that's great. You have to be able to let people know what your why is.
It was.
Because when you're able to let somebody know your why, you can usually pull their why back out of them. And when you know each other's reason for doing stuff, the relationship isn't just transactional. It becomes, relationship.
So let's talk about that. So how do you find the why? And the way that Rene presented was probably the best way that I've ever seen it before. And, what he talked about was that you need to find a way to define yourself by 3 words, right? The 3 words that mean the most to you. And it doesn't have to be exactly 3. It could be more, right? But the 3 words that mean the most to you, right? And then, and this is the big one, then you take those 3 words and you go back to the ages of 9 to 13, because this is when those 3 words were developed in your psyche. It's when it became something important to you. And then remember why those words are so important for you, right? For me, one of my core values is always family, right? Well, there's a reason for that, because if I go back to my roots between 9 and 13, I didn't have a family. My family was my mother and I. And my mother was always working. And as much as she meant, as much as she wanted to do well, and she did, she taught me a lot of things, but what she taught me was that she was never there, right? And that was important to me. So why is family so important to me now? Well, now, coaches, you already know I've got 5 kids, and I'm home with them every single day.
Yeah.
At 5 o'clock, that's when I leave, because that's a non-negotiable for me, right? Sometimes 5:30, but I'm gone, because for me, I'm not ever going to have my kids not have a father and a mother that are present. That's not an option for me, right? And it's important. And so that word family for me is not just about my family, but it's about supporting the other people that we have on our teams, the people that we lead, so that they can also be there for their families. And then the other part of family for me is helping the families that we serve accomplish their goals and dreams, right? And it's important. And it goes back to 9 to 13, just like he said, right? And that's why it's so important to me. The second one is passion. My second one is passion. I think you can hear when I talk, right? But where's that passion come from? My mother always told me growing up, you got to believe what you're doing. You got to do it for the right reasons, and that meant something to me.
Yeah.
You got to be passionate about something.
With me being a recruiter, the passion has to be there. But, we've all talked to those guys that just, it's a job and you're a paycheck. And I don't think I've ever, at least in the last 20 plus years, worked as a recruiter, a branch manager, whatever, just for a paycheck. If I couldn't look a man or woman in the eyes and tell them for sure I thought they would be better off with me than they were with somebody else, then I couldn't hire that person. I could never ask them to put their family at risk. And there's so many people that, they're there to sell. In fact, you might have even run into this young man. There was a young man at the event that was one of the first people that walked up to me in our booth, and says, "Hi, I'm so-and-so. I'm an insurance agent." And before he heard my name, was into a sales pitch. And I didn't take him aside, but I was going to, after I saw him do it to 4 or 5 people. And I was going to like, "Hey, dude, let's slow down.
Yeah.
You gotta build a relationship.
Yep.
Do you know who you're talking to? You just talked to the CEO of one of the largest companies in the world. I'm sure he's got some of the best insurance ever, but maybe he could have introduced you to his local branch where you live and said, 'Hey, I met so-and-so. He's told me to stop in here and meet you guys.'" I mean, what would that young man's life be different if he had thought more about the people that he was meeting than he was himself? And now I understand that you have to make money and you got to build your income. And maybe I reached that point in my life where, it's different for me than it is for somebody trying to put food on the table, and, they do only have 2 paychecks left in the bank. I get that. But it seems like when it's like the old biblical, it's the more you give, the more you get. And it's not that it's a, hey, if I do this, I'm going to get more type mentality. But when it's real and it's from the heart, people know it. And so a lot of times when I'm doing recruiting, I talk to them first and then I say, "Do I have your permission to tell you our story?" I said, "I'd love to tell it from start to finish so that when I'm done, you completely understand where we're coming from. I've heard what you said. And then I want to talk more about you with who I think you're going to believe who we are now." And people are so open. They sit back because they think it's an interview and they got to do all the talking themselves. And not that I want to do all the talking, but I let them feel what I feel like and why I'm here.
So that brings me to another one of the points that Rene Rodriguez was talking about at the event. And that was, ultimately perception of reality, right? We've all heard the stage, right? Perception is reality, right? Well, the question, and this is the big one, is whose perception are we talking about, right? Because the point that he made in the room was he just stopped mid-sentence and then he waited And then he asked what everybody's perception of what just happened was. And to hear the
he looked
different
away
people,
too. He looked.
well, and to hear what each person said was completely different. And what that tells us is that it doesn't matter. We could have 1 million people in the same room, and if something happens, everybody's perception of what happened could be completely different.
Well,
right?
what was funny is we could see where he looked from behind him almost, because we were closer to the stage.
Yeah.
And we could see everybody over there going, like, what did we do? What happened? You know? And then you had all of us on the other side going, well, what happened over there? What'd they do?
That's
and so everybody in their head had a story of what just happened before he came back and started.
So let's
talking.
talk about that, because what you just said brought that to my attention. So what you just said was, when you're talking to somebody who we're considering to bring over to the team, you ask them for permission, number one, which is awesome, because effectively maybe they don't care. If you didn't ask their permission to tell the story, maybe they don't care about what you're about to say. But when you ask their permission and they give you permission, and then you tell the story, now you give them the opportunity to give them the perception of the company that you want them to see. This is smart, right? And this is what Renee was talking about, is being able to control the perception by using certain things. One of those was body language, right? Where you hold your hands when you're on stage, the way that you speak, where you stand on the stage, right? Am I back here? What am I talking to you right now? Or am I up here?
Yep.
And am I here, right? And are we talking to each other, right? And this is important. So, some people may have pumped in and said, man, this is confusing. This is top plays or the producers are actually running. But these are the top plays that producers are actually running. Because I want to recap some of the stuff that we talked about today, Coach, right? Number one, we talked about being in a trust recession where people don't trust us. Number two, we talked about wanting to make sure that we're attracting people to us and not chasing, right? And then we talked a little bit about social media presence. Well, why are all those things relative? Okay. Because this is what top producers are doing. What we didn't talk about, we should talk about, is AI, because we have to introduce some sort of AI into our business, but do it in a way to where we don't lose trust, which means that we still have to show up as ourselves, right? Because there's a lot of great things we can be doing with AI as well, but we don't use it to replace us. We use it to help us get bigger and stronger, right? So ultimately, what the top producers are doing is they're building trust, using social, and forming an audience. They're using things to help control the perception of the people they're speaking to's reality, so that they have an understanding that there's somebody they can actually confidently believe in. And they're giving things away for free. Like right now, we're on a podcast. We're doing this for free. We're doing this because we want to help educate people. But at the same time, the people that listen start to form trust, because they get to decide, do they believe that we're genuine and honest, that we're here to help them? And you and I both know the answer is, but somebody who's first turning in for the first time, maybe they don't know that, right?
Right. Yeah.
And they're using these techniques and these tools so that long-term, instead of having to go out and chase business, they start to develop people that follow them for all the right reasons and want to do business with them so that they can continue to have success. So these are the plays that the top producers are actually running right now. And we watched time after time, people walk up to the front of that room and say almost the same thing in very different ways.
Oh, yeah.
And these are the people that are winning in the market today, right now.
They are. And it's so cool to hear you, after going to an event or after coaching, the way you're able to repeat this stuff. You actually help a lot of people way better than I do, because you absorb this stuff and then you form it. But what was really cool listening to just that last minute or two was you took 8 or 9 different people that talked and weaved it into just a few short paragraphs, because they all had the same message. But when you're listening to them, you're not thinking, man, he sounds like Renee, or that sounds like. They were all different. And it just depends at, what level you're on and, what your receptiveness is to each person. People might see us and go, 2 dudes in ball caps, that's not real professional. I interviewed a COO today, and I I had my hat off, and I looked, I was looking good, but it's interesting. And if people just pluck, a couple things out of what you said and they implement it, and that's the other thing. Everybody that was on that stage implemented the things that they talked about doing it. And most of them, it was just natural. Yeah. When you start putting your videos out there and you start doing things, you showed it today on our Call Stars show, our accountability show, and you showed Mr. Beast at the beginning and Mr. Beast now, and oh my gosh, Mr. Who in the world would have watched that guy 10 years ago? And now he's a billionaire who doesn't have enough cash to pay his bills some months because
he gives it all away.
He's a billionaire on paper. He doesn't have the cash in his drawer. Yeah, and he gives it all, a lot of it away.
Gives it all away, But let's go back and talk about that real quick before we wrap the show today. And that was my perception, but the way that I delivered it, it became your reality.
Yep.
And this is what we're talking about: is how can you take your perception and deliver it to an audience so that it becomes their reality. And instead of the audience all walking away with a different perception of what you actually meant, right? Yeah. And so this is the technique, right? This is the technique that you can learn, you can use, and you can put out there and start to gain trust with an audience that now follows you because they trust you.
Yeah.
And you can stop the chase, and you can start to build your long-term strategy of success.
Yeah. And my personality, doesn't change just based on who I'm talking to or interviewing. I asked the COO this morning after talking a little bit about them and a little bit asking a few questions about me. I asked permission. Can I tell you why I'm here? Can I tell you my story? And she was like, yeah, that's what I want to know. And she's taking notes, so I knew, points I was hitting. And it was just so cool when I said, now let's talk about you. And she goes, no, I got questions first.
Let's talk about this too real quick, because, you said, hey, I show up who I am. Well, Coach, every single week at 11:30 Central, you and I are right here. And it's live. By the way, this is live. Like, you could literally ask us a question in the comments. We would answer. This is live. So we don't have an opportunity to edit anything out or change anything or make it different, right? This is all live. This is a live show. We do it every single week. And we do that because we want you to know that, you've got two coaches here that are here to help support you, to help you grow, to help you take things to that next level. And we're not going to have some edited version of us out there. We're going to be here live in your face every single week. In fact, if you want to see us, I think we're changing the dates of the show. So I got to probably change this real quick. But right now we're MLOLiveshow.com, and it's been Monday through Friday. I think we're actually going to be doing Tuesdays and Thursdays at 8 a.m. Central. But it's MLOLiveshow.com, and you should come check us out over there because we're live on that show. We typically have anywhere from 60 to 100 viewers that pop on and literally ask us questions real time, face to face. And that one's Scott Hudspeth. That's me. That's you, Coach Rick Koenig. We've got John Hinks on there from Cageless. So, if you're loving the show and you just want more, you're like, I need more information. I love what you guys are saying. How can I talk to you face to face, right? Not just have to do it through comments. Come over to the show, check it out. We're going to be there, and we welcome everybody. I don't care what industry you're in. It doesn't matter. If you want to level up, learn about AI, learn some really cool tools that we're using right now and giving away for free, come check us out. We would love to have you there. In fact, look, we got some comments. It's funny. Yes, we date each other. We do. We've been dating each other for a long time. We look like twins. Well, that's funny. We're not twins. And let's see, what's it at Real Alien Encounter. So I'm going to pop these up too, Coach, since people are doing it. Here we go.
Yeah, I can't see them. Oh, there you are.
Do you guys date each other?
We hang when we're in the same city.
We're both married.
Yeah.
And he's in Cincinnati. I'm in Dallas, since the upside down Dallas hat here. Yeah, so no, we don't date each other.
Shirt, it was hidden.
Do you guys look like twins? Okay. Well, I'll take that as a compliment.
Other than the fact that I'm old enough to be your dad. That's a compliment I'll take all day long, brother.
And,
I don't know how you took it.
Well, the way I take it, Coach, is that if I'm going to look as good as you at your age, brother, you know what I mean? Then, man, I'll take it, man. I will take it. So, yeah, great stuff. Funny. Great stuff. Well, I think
joke about being the old guy, but there's a point in your life where you feel it, and it's real.
It's real. That's it. Well, it's real right there because we just put these comments right on screen as people were saying them.
22,000 steps on Monday, man. That was who knew we were going to a conference and running a marathon?
That's it, man. No, you're right. It was a lot of steps, man. It was
a marathon.
Yeah, I don't think I did any running. So, well, guys, we appreciate you stopping in as always. We will be back next Thursday at 11:30. If you don't see us pop on right at 11:30, it'll be within the next 5 minutes. So we're always here.
It's live. We're real.
It's live. We're real. It's actually happening. So until the next time, we will see you then. I'm Devin Dubuque.
Coach Rick Koenig.
You've been watching Loan Officer Success Live, where real strategies meet real success. Don't forget to subscribe now and share it with your teammates and keep leveling up because your next breakthrough starts here. If this fired you up, don't just watch success, go out there and build it.